Um, I'm actually not here to promote my services as a physician. I'm here because it's a debt that I owe the Lions Club, and the world owes the Lions Club. What most people don't know, even Charlie doesn't really know, is that I helped develop this injection called anti-VEGF injections. And this was when I was a very young man at Harvard Medical School. What Charlie also doesn't know is that my father was the scion of retina, meaning he actually developed the field of retina with a guy named Charles Skeppens at Harvard Medical School, who invented the first way to look at the back of the eye and study it. I grew up in this field. I started doing research on retinal problems since I was 10 years old. I actually helped develop surgery for the retina, which my father invented. He wrote the first textbook in 1976 out of Harvard Medical School on this technology, which has saved the vision of millions of people around the world. I helped him in the laboratory as a 10-year-old. I was doing surgery, of course, experimental surgery, on animals as a middle schooler. Now, this is my background, but this is not why I'm here in front of you today. When I was probably right out of medical school, I worked at Harvard Medical School in a team that developed something called anti-VEGF injections for neovascular diseases of the eye and also for cancer. I worked at that time at Mass Eye and Ear Infirmary and also the Children's Hospital under my mentors, Judah Folkman, who unfortunately is deceased, but he is the father of a field called angiogenesis, very famous scientist and researcher. Joan Miller, who currently is the first female chair of Harvard Ophthalmology, and Tony Adamus, who was a professor at Harvard, but then decided to go into industry, and he joined the company that makes the drug called Avastin and Lucentis. It's a company called Genentech and then Roche. He's now retired, by the way. I was the good boy Friday, how's that? So I did all the work. Now, this is my background, this is my story, but there is a story that has been left untold because my mentors have all got so famous, right? Won all these awards. They don't go back to the base story. The base story is that we had to do the initial experiments to determine that this strategy of injecting a molecule in the eye could save people's visions around the world, all right? This story started out at a very troubling story. The idea, the concept that you could inject something into the retina, into the eye, was heresy. What does that mean? All the scientists at Harvard Medical School said, you couldn't do this. How could you inject an eye more than one time in somebody's lifetime, right? So, we had this great idea that we were going to inject this molecule into the eye, and then we went to all the granting bodies around the country, like the National Institutes of Health, all these different other foundations, and they all said, nice try. You can't do this. It's impossible, all right? So we were at wit's end. We had a great idea. We had a great technology, and yet nobody was going to support us. Then came the Lions Club. You guys, none of you are scientists. I mean, anybody here in this a scientist? Anybody? Anybody know anything about a molecule? Chemistry, biochemistry, anybody? Tell me, I mean, anybody? You do? Okay, good, fantastic.
Don't ask me about it.
Oh, okay, very good. But that's exactly what these people who were part of the Lions Club International, when we approached them and we wrote the grant for them, you know, they had scientists on board, but they took the risk. With the funding only from the Lions Club, not the government, not a big pharma company, nobody, the Lions Club. You guys, this was back in 1993, a long time ago. I was a very young man. I had less gray hair, unfortunately. You know, you guys stepped up. You funded the first experiments on this, and I haven't had the time to write the book. The book is going to be called The Shot Seen Around the World. All right?
Makes sense.
Makes sense,
I
right?
like it.
And the Lions Club is the source of this. Now, I made a promise back then that I would be more involved with the Lions Club. Sorry. I apologize. But every time I meet a member, and I've had many members that I take care of, I always thank them. And you know, I was talking to Charlie, and he goes, "Wow, I'm founding this Lions Club." I said, "I gotta repay my debt." And I'm in a position now that I can repay that debt because literally, I don't have more time, but I have more freedom with what I can do. You understand? When you're a young man and you're building, you know, a practice and you're building a scientific career, and I'm also a biotech entrepreneur. I've invented several classes of molecules, including Avastin, you know, using it for the back of the eye, and I also am helping develop treatments for cancer, fibrosis, and I have a company right now that we are attacking Alzheimer's, fibrosis, cancer, and also macular degeneration. And another condition that is close to my heart called retinitis pigmentosa, but yeah, that's taking I'm taking the side, you know, the side road for now, as we discussed yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Now, the thanks to the Lions Club is my debt, and you know, I pay my debts. The Lions Club also helped my father when he developed a sort of an institute in Asia to treat the indigent. In the Philippines, the leading cause of blindness in the Philippines at that time was cataracts. This was back in the 90s and in the 2000s. So my dad was the eye surgeon for all the president of the Philippines, you know, all the scions of industry in the Philippines and also Asia. He was the eye doctor for the King of Spain, the Chancellor of Austria. You know, he saved vision around the world. Of course, to the ones who can afford it or royalty or something like that. But my dad came from the jungles of the Philippines. He grew up in the lower islands of the Philippines, which would be like Okeechobee here in Florida, right? And he became one of the biggest professors and eye surgeons in the world. And people would flock from around the country to see him, from around the world to see him, right? But he always wanted to give back to the people where he grew up, which was, he was a farm boy. He was a farmer, all right? In World War II, he fought World War II as a 10-year-old. His farm was invaded by the Japanese, all right? And he was actually captured by the Japanese, and thank God he survived, because if he didn't, I wouldn't be here. And then after World War II ended, he got very, very sick with malaria, almost died, and it was it not for the U.S. military who gave him a transfusion, he would have been dead, and I wouldn't be around. and he wouldn't have been able to save millions of people's vision, all right? So he pays his debt, and he uses the Lions Foundation, not uses, but he goes with the Lions Foundation and he develops an institute which does free cataract surgery in the Philippines with the Lions Foundation. Now, you see the thread in my life? The Lions Foundation has supported all the seminal things that have occurred in the eye. This injection that, is it all right if I say that I give to Charlie, once a month, is saving his vision. If we didn't have that injection, it would be like back when, maybe before 2000, where we didn't have these injections. This was a license. It was like a blindness sentence. It's like saying, if my father, I saw patients back then, before the injections, because it took me a long time to develop these injections. We actually developed it in 1993. It wasn't available until 2005. That's a long time. A lot of people went blind during that time. And at that time, it was a sentence of blindness. If somebody came in with what Charlie had, I would tell him, okay, I won't see you for 2 years because, well, you're just gonna be blind. There's nothing I can do. Now, I can tell Charlie, with these injections, you'll be seeing for the rest of your life. You understand how big that is? And the credit is not to me. The credit is not to my team. My credit isn't even to my father. The credit is to you, all of you, all right? And that's why I'd like to hear what you said. You're the largest service organization in the world. And I bet a lot of you don't even know what you accomplished. What you've accomplished is you've saved the vision of millions of people. And that's why I had to sort of thank you. I have to thank you. I have to thank you. I have to thank Charlie. I have to thank every one of you. And everybody around the world who is still seeing today because of this treatment has to thank you. Now, you haven't been thanked until now, to be frank with you, all right? And I'm here not to get more patients. I don't need more patients, to tell you the truth. Okay? I have people who fly from around the country to see me. I don't need that, all right? What I need is, I need to tell the world that the Lions Club is responsible for saving the vision of millions and maybe now billions of people around the world. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.